Well, it's interesting. I was working for another company,
Yeah.
and I was doing a lot of their marketing and social media as well. And I started doing some freelancing on the side because one of my good friends asked me to take over her social media.
Okay.
And I said, well, I can train you on how to do it. And she's like, I don't want to learn. Just do it for me.
Just do it,
Just
yeah.
do it for me. So that's really how it all started. And so I started doing hers, and then I was referred by her to someone else. And it just kept going. It snowballed,
Yeah.
and I really wanted to design my own life so that I could be home with my daughter, who was then starting high school or junior high, and I wanted to be there for her, and so this really fit both of those things that I was looking for.
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, it gives you that flexibility to have your, to be an entrepreneur and to set your own schedule and everything. A lot of times when you have a lot of those demands, right, on your time, it's hard to raise a family and do that at the same time, right? When you kind of embarked on the social media pathway, Melissa, people were afraid of social media, right? They were really afraid of digital marketing, social media. I don't know anything about this. Where did you find the drive and passion and willingness to kind of dive into that? What was the motivation behind that?
Well, I love helping businesses grow, and I've done that throughout my career.
Yeah.
Communications, marketing in different facets, even operations.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a natural fit, and I love helping business owners who are afraid to go into social and teaching them that it doesn't have to be so scary. Teaching them the foundations, how to build their brand awareness, how to build a strong foundation of their business, keeping all of their brand consistent. Because that's one of the challenges that I find with small business owners. They want to be on every channel, and they're not consistent with their branding and their website, and it all looks different.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that we've really started to hone in on when we work with companies now.
Yeah.
I was finding that as we got into this, we would start with businesses and their website didn't look like their Facebook page or their LinkedIn profile. So now we start from scratch. We build their foundation, we build that look and feel along with their strategy.
Yeah, there is an importance there. I mean, that level of consistency, saying the same thing, having the same visuals, consistently over time. And whether it's website or an email or social media or whatever, companies, when they start to look at that level of consistency, begin to build a thought or, right?
Brand loyalty.
Brand loyalty and reputation in mind.
Absolutely.
So take us to the beginning of a process. Like, for example, if you go into an organization and they're really not consistent with their messaging, you said you build a baseline. How do you do that?
So we start with their brand foundation, which looks like getting their logos, getting their value proposition in order, making sure they're using the same colors, the same fonts in all of their marketing. Make sure their voice is consistent across all of their platforms.
Okay.
And then we move into their customer persona. Who are they speaking to? And we get really deep into who they're speaking to. We go into what their demographics are, their age, their background, their education, where they're hanging out. And sometimes their income as well. And so we really figure out who they're marketing to, because I can't hand over any projects to my team without knowing the answers to all of that. We have to know what they're saying, what their message is, and who they're saying it to.
Right. And that's regardless of whether it's a business-to-business play or a business-to-consumer play.
B2B or B2C.
Yep, doesn't really matter. So when you've done this for a number of years, right? Your daughter is now 16, right? So you've been doing this since she was
4 years,
right? 12. You obviously have some great success stories and some case studies that you can share with us, without mentioning the company's name.
Sure.
Come up with. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about a case study or a success story that you.
Sure. So one of my earliest clients, who I've been with 4 years now, she is doing amazing work. She's signed recently, and this year has signed, I believe, more than 3 over $1 million contracts.
Wow.
So she has expanded incredibly.
Wow.
Social media is only one part of her success,
Okay.
obviously, and that's why our company is called One Part Social, because social media should only be one part of your marketing.
Yeah.
She's probably my biggest case study. I have a lot of clients who stay on with me for years, so I have at least 3 other clients who have been with me almost since the beginning.
Wow. That's a
So-
great testament to you and
my team,
and your
yeah.
team, yeah. So I want you to talk about that One Part Social, with a comment you just made about the fact that social media should only be one part of your marketing effort. A lot of times the pendulum swings in both directions, right? And people look at it and go, they say, well, so I've got to be present social media wise, and I'm not, to the detriment of everything else they do. Talk about that for a
So
moment.
yes, social media should only be one part, and the other part should encompass email marketing, where you can really build that one-on-one customer relationship as well.
Yeah.
You don't own your followers on any social media account, and if they were to fold tomorrow, who are you? Where are you going to market?
Good point.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So email marketing is one. Networking is a huge value. You really need to get out into the community and show people what you do and how you do it. Again, making those connections in
Yeah.
person as well.
Yeah.
So those 2 are really important, and they work in unison
Yep.
with. And your website has to be really good as well.
Yeah, because you're drawing people in. That's basically your front door to your business, right?
Absolutely. And most of the time, we are driving great website traffic, but if your website isn't going to convert people, then there's no sense in driving them there.
Yeah.
And there have been clients where, we've said, well, we would love to work with you, but we need to make some updates to your website.
How do you work? Do you work typically on an ongoing retainer basis, or do you work on sort of project by project? Let's say I called you in to do our website and social media. Would you break that up over a 12-month period, or how does that typically work?
So we only do social media marketing and email marketing. If you need help with your website, we can refer you out, and we work closely with your website vendors.
Okay.
But we actually don't do websites. We can help you with copy, but we actually, wouldn't do the website per se. We will help you with your email marketing campaigns as well. And it is a monthly retainer fee, but we also do consulting. So if there are companies out there who, can't really afford to outsource everything, then we'll show you how to do parts of it, and we can do parts of it as well.
Okay. You've been doing this 4 years, but you also had a career prior to starting One Part Social. What sort of headwinds or obstacles have you run into over the years, and how have you kind of learned from that?
I think some of my obstacles are probably very familiar to everyone else. How to balance that, your work life with your home life, especially being a single parent for as long as I have been.
Yeah.
And so that's been a challenge. And I've been able to overcome it. I'm a big list maker, number one, but I also really have to know when to shut it down. Some of the work will be there tomorrow, and and I also surround myself with really smart people. And great resources.
Yeah.
So I can reach out to them at any time and get there.
Are you able to actually shut it down? Are you able to say, I'm spending too much time working and not enough time at home? I mean, you're learning from that. But
I am, and yes, I really have. Usually Saturdays I try not to go into my office at all, and that's how I do it. I say, okay, today I'm not even going to walk in there, because if I walk in there and I get sucked into email or sucked into projects, so Saturdays I really try and stay out of my office.
Good. Do you feel the pressure of performing when you're doing social media marketing and email marketing? There's a performance metric there, right, for your clients. How do you handle the pressure of being able to really perform for your clients, to be able to say, we talked about the metrics here up front, and you feel like you're falling short, or you're not doing what you feel like you can do?
So we are always evaluating the metrics on a monthly basis. My team is, we do monthly analytic reports, and we're always changing things up. If what we're doing isn't working, then we change our strategy, or we change the content that we're putting out.
Yeah.
So it can be stressful,
Yeah.
especially with the algorithms changing on all of the channels so
Right.
often.
Sure.
So, but it's part of the job. It's part of the
Yeah.
business to always be trying to stay one leg ahead of it.
One leg ahead of it. What do you think the most difficult part of social media is when you engage in a new client? You look at, their overall, level of consistency and share of voice and all that stuff. What's the most difficult thing to tackle?
There are two things. One is technology. Technology is constantly changing. So we have to stay up on all things technology, whether it's the platform itself, the things we can, the apps we use to push out content, and then it's getting to the business owners. I almost always deal directly with the business owner themselves.
Sure.
And they're also so busy.
Yeah.
So, finding a way to really be able to communicate with them on a regular basis to find out, what their new marketing initiatives are for that month, get images, photographs, video from them. That's probably my biggest challenge. It's just the back and forth with business owners.
So is it really content? Is it the fact that you're trying to bring in more content?
Yes.
And that is hard to do?
Yes,
Right.
and a lot of them aren't always tech savvy, and that's why
Yeah.
they hire us.
Right.
So we use a lot of technological platforms that sometimes they're not familiar with.
Yeah.
So sometimes we just go back to the good old Excel spreadsheet and we use that.
Right. So let's again, we'll go through a process here, and I'll use my company as kind of an example, but I don't feel like we're consistent in our messaging and our share of our voice and everything else. What would you go through with me? First, I mean, we go through the process of understanding who our market is and so on, right? Then what?
So we would first figure out what your value proposition is. What actually makes you better and different from your competition.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
We would really try and figure out who you're marketing to, and where are those platforms that will get to those people,
Okay.
and get to your audience.
Okay.
So those two things, and then we'll really look at what you've already done and what's worked, what
Right.
hasn't worked. What types of marketing materials do you have on hand?
Okay.
And obviously before that, we'll look at your branding and really be able to see, if you're consistent.
Yeah.
What is that look and feel? What is that voice that you're going for? And does it all align with
Sure.
that?
Sure. And you and I talked about this in the past. A lot of times, people talk about writing blog posts and stuff like that, and it's not done on a consistent basis. And then you go to a website and it's like, this blog was written a year and a half ago. It's not up to date. So you evaluate all of that. Yeah.
All of that. And blogging is so important. There's a way to give information out there to your audience for free, to provide value,
Yep.
and to create that thought leadership.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you can do
Yeah.
through your blog, and then
Yeah.
you can promote it on social.
Love it. All right, we're going to take a quick